Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Matt here, and today I'm taking a look at the relatively new offering from KRG, which is the Bravo chassis in the 1022 inlet option. You can see it is in FDE here in front of me. It does come in a variety of colors, but this rifle is on loan to me, so I can kind of check it out. I'm really happy to finally get one of these Bravo chassis in the 1022 option in hand so I can try it out. They did release these a little while ago, but they're just starting to trickle into Canada now. So again, I have this rifle on loan. I brought it out this weekend, actually both days, to the range to just try it out a little bit, and I've been fairly impressed. The Bravo chassis obviously is going to be very similar in ergonomics and feel to other Bravo chassis, but there are a few key differences that we'll talk about. If you follow the channel, you'll know that I already have a KRG Bravo for one of my 457s here in the Seiko green color, but I've used this chassis quite extensively. I'm a big fan of it. I think the ergonomics and comfort are really nice in this chassis system. So we'll be kind of comparing them. The 1022 option here is substantially cheaper than the other Bravo inlet options for a few different reasons. It does offer a lot of the same features, but they did take out a couple things to keep the costs down a little bit. But I think this is going to be a really good option for a precision 1022 build, or if you're here in Canada, the newly announced CRPS X22 series, this chassis is going to be a really good candidate for that as well. I also have a Victor company Titan stock as well as an Oryx chassis to kind of compare here on the tabletop in this video as well, and we'll also take an in-depth look inside this chassis since we have everything here already. So looking at this thing just off the bat, the first thing I noticed was obviously it doesn't have the two-part design. You can see that there's this split here. That's because you can actually replace the entire forend with different versions if you want to upgrade or change the style of the forend depending on what you're doing with the rifle. The 1022 version here obviously does not have that option. It'll just stay in this configuration. I don't think it's a big deal. I think most people buying these chassis are leaving them like this anyway, but that's definitely a cost-saving option. You still retain the full aluminum bed that runs from the front of the forend all the way back to the grip area here. So that's just a solid billet of aluminum that's been milled out to give a really nice solid bedding platform for the action of your rifle. So that's retained in the 1022 version here as well, which is obviously a key feature in these Bravo chassis. It's the same in the 457 version here, as well as the centerfire version, if I bring this into frame, which is a Voodoo V22, also in a KRG Bravo. That is a key feature, again, that big aluminum skeleton, if you will, inside the polymer frame. The other major difference is if you look at the buttstock area. So if I bring this into frame here, you'll see if I line this up as best as possible, the difference in length of pull. So out of the box, the 1022 buttstock is quite a bit shorter. Not only that, but the butt pad itself is a hard plastic. So instead of getting a nice thick rubber pad like on the other Bravos, this one is just plastic. Again, a little bit of a cost savings. What I really didn't like is the fact that the 1022 Bravo does not come with any length of pull spacers out of the box, and that's kind of disappointing to me. I understand why they shortened it because the 1022 is often used for youth and kids to kind of get them started in firearms and, you know, showing them how to safely handle firearms and such. But in my mind, the vast majority of people buying a Bravo chassis for a 1022 is not going to be using it for children. You know, this chassis is more expensive than an off-the-shelf 1022. So in my mind, people are going to be buying this for their, you know, custom 1022 precision builds, and not many kids are going to fall into that category. I do like the option that you have a shorter length of pull here for someone that's shorter or, again, youth, but the fact that they didn't include length of pull spacers kind of bothers me. And to make things worse, I haven't seen the Canadian pricing yet, but I expect it to be around $40 to $50 for the length of pull spacer kit. And I think they should have just thrown that in the box. I mean, the regular KRG Bravo comes with length of pull spacers. I don't know why they didn't do it for this one, but I think they definitely should have included that in the box. But that's, again, a big difference here. You'll notice that the flush cup, it's moved from up here to down here on the buttstock because you don't have the extra space here to work with. And if you're wondering, the toolless length of pull adjustment kit from KRG will not work in the 1022 version because there's not enough space here to fit the hardware needed to install that kit. So just keep that in mind. You do still retain the option of removing this piece here. You can kind of see the outline there if you want to use the hooked version hooked piece here, which I prefer, but it does come again with the flat one installed. The hooked piece is a separate purchase as well. Apart from that, the 1022 Bravo chassis is exactly the same in terms of feel and ergonomics as your regular one. One thing I noticed almost immediately when using this was there's actually kind of a sharp edge underneath or behind the trigger guard here. It's placed right where your third finger would kind of ride up when you're using the rifle. So that's something you're probably going to want to radius yourself with a small file or perhaps fill it in. But it is definitely very sharp, and on the other two KRG Bravo chassis I have, that's not an issue. I guess the way the 1022 trigger group is designed, that cutout kind of fits that round shape, but on the other ones it's kind of a square, and it's nicely tapered, that edge, so it doesn't feel sharp at all on the hand. But this one definitely needs a little bit of tweaking out of the box, in my opinion. It is compatible with the KRG Arca rails, of course. This one installed at the moment is not a KRG Arca rail. I think this is just an off-brand, but you can install the KRG Arca rail onto the forend of the Bravo 1022, and it would look exactly like this. This is the KRG Arca rail on the bottom of this Bravo chassis here. You also do retain the same adjustable cheek piece with the quick release dial and your adjustment up and down. In terms of mag fit into the KRG Bravo chassis, it fits very nicely, and it does drop free as well. So this is just your your regular 1022 mag, and it does drop free, as you can see there. And when it is seated, there's very little play. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the action, the 1022 action, out of the chassis so we can take a closer look at it. Now this is actually the first time I'm taking the 1022 out of the KRG Bravo chassis here. I'm pretty interested to see if they used anything to retain the back of the action, because one of the inherent I guess downsides of the 1022 design is the fact that it uses only one action screw to secure the action into a stocker chassis. But we'll just remove it here and see how it looks. Oh, so it looks like the takedown screw is not retained, which is fine, not a big deal. We'll move this out of the way for now. So the KRG Bravo here is quite lightweight. I mean, it does have a full aluminum section here, but it is still light. You can see the machining is really nicely done on the inside of the aluminum piece there. And as I mentioned before, you can install the KRG Arca rail. You'll hear the rattling inside this chassis. That's this piece here, which can move fore and aft a little bit. And that's so it can kind of compensate the difference, the different tolerances in the various receiver manufacturers, which is pretty cool. You know, there's so many aftermarket 1022 receivers now, they're not all exactly the same. So this piece can move slightly to accommodate the action screw going into the receiver. So that's cool as well. Everything else, again, is your standard KRG Bravo. And I do notice this rear screw here on the tang. It looks like it's attached to this piece inside there. That little rectangular piece inside here probably interfaces with the trigger group. What I mean by that is the trigger group has like this notch, and I'm pretty sure that piece fits right into there. Yeah. So that's probably what helps anchor the rear of the rifle down, is that block right there. It doesn't look to be really that adjustable though. I know the Victor company Titan stock has kind of like a pin you can drive downwards if you need a little bit more material to help catch the trigger assembly to really anchor in the back there. I'm not sure how well this one works, but let's see what loosening this screw does. I'm not sure it does too much, to be honest. Yeah, interesting. So this piece is still really stuck in there. I'm not sure what this screw, if tightening this down, would actually do anything. So I've been playing around with this screw a little bit. I'm really not sure what it does. I mean, it definitely holds in this block that again interfaces with the trigger assembly, but tightening this down or putting more torque in it doesn't seem to adjust where this block sits. So in that regards, it's not really too adjustable in terms of locking down the back of the action. Different chassis will use different mechanisms in order to lock down the rear of a 1022 receiver, because as I mentioned before, there's only one action screw for most 1022s. The Victor company Titan here has a piece at the back, and it has a little set screw that you can kind of push in and out further so that it can capture that little gap inside the trigger assembly harder or lighter, depending on how much you want to put pressure on that when it's installed. So I can see in the installation of this that square block is sitting in that gap in the trigger assembly. So again, that's going to help kind of keep the rear of the 1022 from moving too much. So I'm just trying to kind of push down on the front of the barrel there and feel for movement in the rear of the receiver. And I really don't feel any. So I guess that block does capture the receiver quite nicely. And it really doesn't feel like there's any movement whatsoever. It is really frustrating sometimes when you have movement in the 1022 receivers, because the front action screw area can kind of just act as a pivoting point if it's not perfectly paired with the receiver. But it doesn't seem to be an issue, at least in this combination with the Delask 1022 receiver. And just for some side-by-side comparisons, I will get out the Victor company Titan again. This is my personal 1022 build. This is actually the 1022 build I have a small video series on at the moment. I finally found a stock to put it in, so further testing will proceed later on, but you can see there side by side. The KRG Bravo definitely comes in a higher price point than the Magpul Hunter X22, as well as the Victor company Titan stock. It's substantially more expensive, but of course these ones, the Titan as well as the Magpul, are basically full polymer. The Titan here does have an aluminum block that helps bed the action, but it's really more or less just like pillar bedding. This one is much more rigid with the full aluminum bed inside the stock, of course. And let me grab the Oryx chassis here, which is a chassis made by MDT and hard to fit on camera, but this one is a very, very nice option as well. The Oryx chassis at the moment is about $100 more Canadian dollars than the KRG Bravo, but I would say they're similar in price and kind of going for the same thing in terms of precision rim fire. Of course, the Oryx chassis is almost, I guess you could call it like a monolithic design, where the aluminum billet runs from the front of the forend all the way to the buttstock here. So it's more aluminum in the Oryx, but it's still fairly lightweight. Now this isn't a fair comparison because this has the carbon wrapped barrel, but you can see it side by side there. I know the Oryx has been very popular in the past, and now that people have the KRG Bravo to choose from as well, it'll be interesting to see how people decide between the two, because at this price point, I would say they're very similar and reaching the same group of people. All right, so I hope this video was helpful for those looking at the KRG Bravo 1022. If you have any questions, as usual, I'll do my best to answer them. If not, I'll see you guys in the next video, and take care.